2016. But I know just the same way I wanted to stay out of it and not become the story, Chris wants to do that as well. But you also have to do fact-based questions. You have to give the candidates questions that will challenge them, but you're not really the person who's saying, you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong, you're right. That's up to them.
Yeah, he said he's not going to fact check, but we should probably expect him to follow up.
I think he will follow up, and we certainly followed up in 2012 and in 2016. It's very much like you did, George, the other day in the town hall. You follow up when you can, when you have the information there, and you can pass it off to the other candidates.
Shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. Chris,
number 3.
They said it would take... No, you're on number 2.
No.
Chris, they said it would take...
1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. Violence is never appropriate.
All right, what is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of the town and burn down
Joe.
A revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody else. And he would know.
What is radical about racial sensitivity training?
If you were Democrats that run these cities don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
you
crime.
still haven't mentioned.
Violent
Are you
crime.
in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow
Are you in
it and a
favor
little
of
bit
law and order? Go
Yes, I'm in favor.
You asked a question.
Were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200% crime. It is crazy what's going on.
Reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means...
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter? You would agree, you talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that...
Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time. Beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you... It's okay. You're soliciting. You're asking. They send it back. You send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending...
Because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have...
Here in the room, it was really astounding. And it was apparent as you watched that the president was often turned to the former vice president, pointing his finger at him, speaking directly to him. Joe Biden instead staring straight down that camera, trying to speak to the American people, making his point. The Biden campaign says all you saw tonight from the president was chaos.
Vice President tonight, he looked very shaky at many times during this debate. His numbers were way off. He would wander off in mid-sentence, and then he used lots of name calling and insulting.
Areas for both races, though it'll be
President Trump.
Limited capacity fans. Fans who originally purchased tickets.
Joe Biden calls President Trump the worst president ever.
Fans who made a deposit, and from there,
boy, but yeah.
Anybody who understands how business works.
If Antifa doesn't exist, then why do they have a Twitter page? Antifa Atlanta. If they don't exist, then why do they have a page, a website, on Twitter? If they don't exist, why do they have it? That's the question I got for Joe Biden. Did China stop any of their international flights from leaving China when the virus escaped and they knew about it? Did they telling anyone? Why did they not stop all international flights from leaving China sooner than they did? Prior to Obama getting elected, the VA was messed up and it remained messed up. Veterans were dying without getting the treatment they needed. $8 years Joe Biden was vice president, nothing got better. Too many veterans died. Too many.
Anybody who understands how business works.
If Antifa doesn't exist, then why do they have a Twitter page? Antifa Atlanta. If they don't exist, then why do they have a page, a website on Twitter? If they don't exist, why do they have it? That's the question I got for Joe Biden.
Enough programs that were easily accessible for veterans dealing with PTSD. So he decided to share something he says worked for him: paintball. The events of September 11th, 2001 inspired many Americans to enlist in military service. Chris Aguayo was one of them.
I shipped out to basic training on my 21st birthday. So I did 8 years. 4 years was my initial enlistment. Did a tour to Iraq. Came home early for shoulder surgery. Moved to Fort Bragg in 2009. Did a full year deployment to Afghanistan there.
And it was while stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina that the Army sergeant received a life-changing invitation.
In 2009, I had gone through a really dark time in my life, dealing with survival guilt from going home from Iraq early. I felt that I had turned my back and didn't do my part or do enough for my brothers. And in early 2010, one of my buddies with a group, a couple guys from my unit said, "Hey man, we're putting together this little scenario paintball team. Why don't you come out, get you out of the house, get you to do something."
At one game of paintball, and Chris Aguayo was hooked.
You can take the, so to speak, the violence of war, but at the end, nobody's dying. There's no actual trauma. So you can take your aggression in, your anger out in a positive way.
Soon, spreading that positivity became Aguayo's new mission. He created Task Force Legion Milsim, an organization aimed at using paintball to help veterans battling PTSD. Today, there are chapters or companies based in several states, including here in Georgia.
A lot of the guys, when you first start talking to them about, getting involved in paintball, they're a little hesitant. They're like, "Oh, it's paintball." And by the end of the day, they're talking, "Hey, how can I join? How can I get involved?"
And it's that immediate reaction, that promise of hope and healing, that Chris Aguayo says leaves him humbled every time.
At the end of the day, this is the legacy that I want to leave behind for my kid. I want him to be able to say, "This is what my dad did. This is how he helped other people."
And it's important to note, Task Force Legion Milsim is open.
Sorry folks, but your e-bikes cannot be blocking the walkways. There's not enough room to get by this thing. Take it away from here.
When I look at our government, if you lack leadership, you're not going to have my confidence for a vote. With all this looting and rioting, defund our police. That's not the country I fought for. Joe Biden's been... His refusal to support the Osama bin Laden raid is a lack of leadership. It's almost a slap in the face. What if something comes up bigger and he's the guy to make the decision? I want leadership in that White House. I want leadership in charge of our military. I like
Could be a political brawl tonight. And while there will be an in-person audience here, seating is limited because of the coronavirus.
I am looking very forward to the debate.
And President Trump looking forward to it after some sparring sessions with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Former Vice President Joe Biden has spent several days off the campaign trail, squaring off with former Obama White House counsel Bob Bauer, playing the role of President Trump. During a virtual fundraiser yesterday, Biden told supporters, "I promise you, starting again tomorrow night, I'll do all in my power to make the case why he, Trump, shouldn't be reelected." Biden is almost certain to hit Trump over this week's revelations from the New York Times that for several years, the president paid little or no federal income taxes. The president has been questioning Biden's mental fitness, but that effectively may lower the bar for Biden tonight.
If Joe Biden goes out there and is sentient, upright, and gets through it without a meltdown, then people will say, good enough, and the race will probably move on. So Trump needs to get him into a place where he screws up.
Now, it's possible that this debate could realign the entire race, but you look at the polls, and this matchup has been remarkably stable in recent weeks. In Washington, Doug Luzader for Good Day Atlanta.
I'll watch it all live. The first presidential debate tonight right here on Fox.
Not very smart, FedEx, to leave your door to this truck open and no one on board. There he is now.
Just pull that lever and automatically your vote will be registered all over the city.